Thank you so much for joining us today. We are going to paint, this design is called Highland Cow, and I really like it because it's a lot of funky colors in there. I like the rustic feel, and then also this is a very abstract painting, so try not to get so discouraged if it doesn't look exactly like mine. Like I've said in the past too, typically when you redo paintings over and over again, they never look exactly the same. But this one is so much fun because you can kind of just let go of things being perfect and just have fun with painting and color design. So really excited about doing this with everyone. I will go back to the template. So thank you so much. I know officially our paint instruction doesn't start until now. So for those of you who sign in early, I like to give you the templates just so that way you have something to do while you're sitting and waiting in the Zoom meeting. So thank you for joining early if you were able to do that. Otherwise, no big deal. We can still catch up. I haven't even started my template either. So we'll all kind of be at the same page. I've been a little bit behind today, so I appreciate everybody being patient with me. Actually, I don't know if you can see my screen, but I had a little bit of a paint disaster. We have these squirt pumps on our paint, and I was pumping some paint on my palette, and it shot right across the room and right over my template. So that was a lot of fun, and I'm sure we'll find paint for a couple days from now on, but that's always the fun thing about doing paint inside. I see a couple of you are outside, so I think that's a good choice too. Or hopefully you're like me. I have a tablecloth actually underneath me as well because I am messy. I've already gotten paint all over me, but I think that's the fun of it. So if you're not familiar, my name is Stephanie Johnston. I'm the owner of Norway's Neverland. This is just a small business, and really what we do is try to provide paint kits for those who are kind of new to the painting, just painting in general. It really does help having kind of a stencil and making you feel a little more comfortable. Otherwise, you know, I'm super excited. I love doing these. I by no means am do any very detailed paintings, but I love painting with everybody and having a big group together. It's a lot of fun. I definitely enjoy painting with other people better than just painting by myself. And so I'm so excited that you guys have joined us today. In case you feel like tipping, there's my Venmo account. It's at Norway's Neverland. Not a big deal. Again, I think I posted up on Facebook. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. And I think not a lot of people are aware, but that is actually how individuals get monetized through their YouTube videos, is by having subscribers. So if they don't have enough subscribers, they actually don't get any funding, even if there's ads in the middle of their video. So if possible, please subscribe. It's definitely supportive. It's a great way to tip without getting money out of your pocket and support a small business. So here we go. This is the template. So if you do not have a stenciled template from me already, I would just consider making, you know, like a shape. So where are you going to put the face, where are the horns going to go? And this is really just going to be a guideline. So that way you're making sure you're kind of centering your painting. And really, you know, sometimes I find even with drawing, and sometimes I end up being more left-sided or right-sided. I don't know why, but it tends to lean to one side. And so it's really nice to draw this with a pencil. And that way you can kind of move things over. And if you're not good at drawing circles, I'm not. I sometimes get a bowl and just make a circle for the head. That's pretty easy. So I will be stenciling my canvas in just a few minutes, but you will also need, and I do say loosely, some of these things are, if you don't have them, don't worry about it, because this is one of those paintings where you can really switch out all of the colors if you really wanted to. So we will need something to paint with or draw on. If you have markers, go ahead and use those as well. Sometimes, I use canvas. Sometimes I use at home when I'm just painting for fun. Sometimes we just use an old cardboard box and cut it up into like a panel. We like to get creative here. So I highly recommend that, use whatever you got on hand. You will be able to view this later. Thank you so much for joining us so early in the morning over in the UK. This video, we are streaming live right now on YouTube. So what that means is if at any time I'm going too fast, probably what the case is going to be, I'm going to go too slow, and you might want to move over to YouTube and you can fast forward and rewind. That will be available. Usually I say for the week. I have gotten a little bit forgetful on actually removing my videos, but typically I do charge for them, but I've been trying to really push, the subscriptions so we can get some free videos up there on YouTube. So unfortunately, the template is a paid service. So I do try to go over, how to draw it with everyone, just so that way, I'm not giving away a product that other people have already paid for. So to start with, I do want to go over the supplies. So again, if you don't have these exact paintbrushes, don't worry about it. I am going to use a big flat brush, and I'm going to use a medium bright brush. So that does say number 12. Use what you're comfortable with. I typically paint on a 8x10 for my paint instructions, just because I paint so often, and I'm running out of room for all my paintings, and 8x10s are really easy to store. But so that is why, I said loosely, these are some supplies you need. If you have a smaller canvas, like an 8x10, you might actually need a smaller brush than a number 12. You might need like a number 8. And a bright brush is flat at the end. And you could use a filbert, or I really like angle shader brushes as well. So anything that kind of has a flat surface will be good. And then a number 2 round. So we want a smaller brush, maybe with a finer tip, so you can get some of the details. Again, there's painting does not have a whole lot of details. So it's not a big deal if it's not a round brush. So if you do have let's say a number 4 or number 2 bright or filbert, you could use those too. You would just want to use a smaller paintbrush. And so I am going to be using chrome orange, which is kind of like a medium orange color. So I would just recommend, use whatever orange you have on hand. Deep red. And I'm going to go skip down a little bit, but we're also having phthalo red. My phthalo red, I just had a paint party, I think 2 weeks ago here, a big group, and everybody was like, oh my gosh, phthalo red does not look like red. It kind of looks pink. So the deep red is actually what most people consider like the typical solid red color. Not quite as bright as fire engine red, but you could use that as well. So no worries, just use whatever red color you have on hand. And then we're also going to use a deep yellow. So it's not a super bright yellow. I call it like kind of a medium yellow, or you could really use just any yellow you got on hand. Neon pink. Now, if you don't have neon pink, that's not a big deal. That's just really some details on the cow. So you could use any pink you have on hand, or you could even make a pink by mixing red and white together. Then we'll use a phthalo blue, phthalo green,
And like I said, phthalo red kind of looks like a pink color to begin with. I'll show you them. Oh, I think it is, I don't know if you can see my canvas, but so here are some of the yellows, red. This is the deep red, the orange, yeah, neon pink. I almost call it hot pink. It kind of looks like a hot pink color. And then this is the phthalo red that looks more pinkish. And then make sure that you do have some whites with you as well. I know we go through a lot of white paint, and I like to use 2 cups of water, one for rinsing out my brush when I'm switching colors, and then the other one to give it a final rinse to make sure I'm not carrying any of that dirty water over to my palette. And so a palette is something that you're going to put the paint on. And I use paper plates because I don't feel as bad about I have some eco-friendly paper plates. It makes me feel a little bit better about it. I reuse them as well. You could pretty much use anything. I do have some plastic palettes as well, but I don't like them as much because they have these little tiny circles for the paint, and I tend to use a lot of paint in my paintings. I do highly encourage you to have some napkins or paper towels or something to clean up in case there's an accident. I know I've already had one here, so I was glad I had the paper towels out right away. So I am going to begin. If you are not already familiar, actually, let me get rid of some of these marks on the screen. So if you are new to Zoom, I just give you a quick Zoom etiquette. Make sure you have yourself on mute unless you have a question or you need to talk. This is being recorded. So if you talk during the instruction or the recording and your video is on, it will be on YouTube. So if you're not comfortable with being on YouTube, I do suggest you turn off your video. Although I do love seeing people here with me. That's really why I use Zoom, is because I like to see people painting with me, and I love it. Sometimes I have people just turn off their video for the most part, and then when they want to share their painting, they just stick it up to the camera. Because I love to see, you know, how you're doing throughout it, and I'm not painting on my own here. Now that we went through that, the Zoom etiquette, and then yeah, on Zoom also, so there are some places where you can actually draw on the screen, and for the moment I do not know how to turn it off so other people cannot draw on my screen. But be careful if you are using your mouse on the computer. You might mark up the screen for other people and might make it harder for them to see. If you are not, there's 2 different ways you can do a stencil on a canvas, and one of them is just to use, you know, a pencil and draw it on there. So just freehand it. Another way is to print off a picture on your printer. So this is, I switched, so normally I do 8x10s, and today I decided to switch it up and go to an 11x14. So I had to customize my template. So it's actually 2 sheets of paper. Well, I kind of want to leave that up so everybody can see it. But what I did is I taped 2 pieces of paper together, and then I got what is called, this is tracing paper. One side is kind of like chalky, and then the other side is the side you'll push down on. So I put the stencil paper down on the canvas, and then I put the cutout or the printout on top of that. What's really cool about the stencil paper is that, or tracing paper, is that you can print off any picture you want, really. And sometimes I print off maybe pictures of, you know, I've been asked to do paintings of specific people that have maybe passed away. And so I'll print off a picture of them, and I'll just kind of draw some general like outline and shapes on them. And so if you're looking at the stencil, it's not very detailed, and we do that on purpose. We're not trying to draw draw the whole picture on here, because once you start painting, it's going to go away and you're not really going to see a whole lot of it. So if you do not have a stencil or a template, coloring books are really good for templates too. I love using my kids' coloring books and just having fun with it on the canvas. I recommend starting with the head. So get a bowl or something that is round and place it on the, I would say, find the halfway mark, and then right above that halfway mark, make a circle to figure out where the head is going to go. And then once you've created your circle, so that's going to be, you know, kind of in general, the head, halfway through the head, we're going to create where the hair is going to go. So kind of just curves down, up and down. If you are not very artistic, what you could do is just make some triangles going up and down in the middle. And it'll get you kind of the same idea. I'm just quickly stenciling. And if you are stenciling or drawing on it, don't worry if it's not perfect. Even if it was perfect, our painting, once we paint over it, it's not going to look exactly what we're drawing on here. This is just a guideline. So once you got the head and then the hair, we're going to draw the snout, which is kind of like an oval shape. It does go, this one specifically goes up a little bit underneath. But if you want it to make it easier, because I like to make things less stressful for people, just kind of draw like a jelly bean right on there. And then in the jelly bean, so here's the jelly bean, we're going to have kind of like a slight smile, maybe up on the top of the snout. Then we're going to draw, they look like kind of like teardrops or water drops, and that is where the nostrils are. So if you ever are trying to figure out how to draw something, just look for the shapes. And if it doesn't look exactly like that, that's okay. And we're going to make some wrinkles around the snout. And a couple wrinkles right on the top of it. And I'm going to give them a little bit of hair, a little beard on the bottom. So as you can see, they're just straight lines underneath the mouth. Then we're going to draw the horn. And you're going to want it to go up. You could have your horns, I guess, shaped a little bit differently too. That's where you get to have fun when you're drawing it. Kind of like a banana shape. We're going to go up, curve it around, and then go back down. And the ears are not very defined, so they're just a curve over, and you're going to start right at the same point where your horn ended. And then you're going to curve it down, and you're not going to connect it with anything. It's just going to go down. And then just like we did with the beard, we're going to make a couple lines in between the head and the ear to show where the hair is, because this is just going to be a really hairy ear. Oh my goodness, I got paint all over my canvas already. So this will be fun. I don't even know how I got paint underneath there, but so then, all right, so we got the head, we got the beard, the ears, the horn. Now we're going to try to do the body. So I'm going to kind of start with this right side and just making some general lines downwards. We're going vertical, and they're not connected because these are just some loose ideas. Now, if it's easier for you and you just want to draw a curved line, that's okay. Because like I said, we are going to be painting over this, and it's just giving us an idea of where we're going. And then I'm going to make some curves going in towards the center of the chest, right underneath the snout.
because the hair kind of pulls in the middle on those cows. And again, with the back side, you could just do a whole curve and connect it. That might be easier than what's kind of on the stencil, but I'm just drawing some lines just to give us some general idea. Let's see. My painting is already started getting painting. Got some blue on my canvas. So if I could get a couple thumbs up when you guys are comfortable with me turning off the presentation for the stencil. Okay, awesome. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to try to stop that. And all right, so if you are joining me on Zoom, just make sure that you have your view on speaker view. So speaker view will make sure that my canvas is the primary video. If you want to see everybody else, you can move to gallery view. That will make everybody's picture a little bit small. You need this. Oh, you still need the stencil. If you, I don't know, can you see it on my canvas? I know my canvas is already dirty. I'll give you a few minutes to catch up still. So like I said, if you are catching up to us, we are on YouTube live, so you can always go back, hit pause on that stencil, and then move forward after that. It will let you, it'll let you go forward, it'll let you go backwards, or just keep going from where you're at. So no worries if I am going too fast. Go ahead and join us on YouTube. So just make sure you got a circle for the head, some horns, an idea where the ears are going to go, and then the body. And I would try to center the head and then kind of move from there. So awesome. All right. So excited for this. So the first color we are going to mix, I'm trying to find a palette that doesn't have blue paint on it. I guess I squirted blue paint all over my table and across the room. So everything has blue on it now. So we are going to, I'm going to start with my flat brush because it is the best brush to fill up a big space. If you don't have a big flat brush, just use whatever biggest brush you have. And we are going to mix 4 parts white and a small amount of phthalo red. So I always recommend dipping your paintbrush in the water first if it hasn't already been in the water. And then when you are done, make sure you dab it on your napkin or your towel before going in the paint. You don't want to start watering down your paint right away. And so again, 4 parts white. So I call them scoops as well. 1, 2. Got some big scoops there. I'm using a little, so used to painting an 8x10. So hopefully hopefully I'm not slow with painting. I think it should be good. I was really excited about this, so I wanted to paint it a little bit bigger. So 4 parts white and then a small, and by a small amount, I'm going to show you right now where really it's the tip of my brush. So it's not a whole, when I say scoop, I use it like a spoon. So it's just on the corner of my paintbrush. And then I'm going to blend it all up. We have a nice pretty pink color. And that is where we are going to start by painting the top of the canvas this color. I feel like mine is more pink than it should be. I'm going to add another scoop of white. All right, so then we're going to use it to color the background. So if you do go over the cow, that's not a big deal. You'll find out I do, and you know, I'll paint over it later. We always do painting in layers. So we are going to go from the top right here behind the cow, so top, and then move our way down. Try not to, I think we're gonna go about this far, so a little over half. And we're gonna do it in downward strokes. I got all kinds of stuff on my canvas. So I'm just starting from the top and moving it down. As you can see, it already went over my horn a little bit, but that's okay. I'm just using those vertical strokes, so up and down instead of going left to right. So up and down. It's very pink. I feel like I put too much phthalo red in there, but we are going to add a lot of fun colors in the background. And my paintbrush is getting a little dry, and I noticed that because it started kind of dragging on my canvas. It didn't feel like it was gliding. So what I did is I dipped my paintbrush back in the water, and now I'm dabbing it back on here. I didn't clear all of the paint off. I just got it a little damp, because if you have a really dry brush, it's gonna be hard to paint, and it's just not gonna look very nice. It looks a little bit better. You gotta make sure that you have a damp brush, and it does really well when you're gonna be mixing colors, because we're gonna do a lot of mixing of colors and not necessarily blending them, but using all different kinds of colors in here. So I'm trying to be careful going around the cow. Not a big deal if you go over like me. Especially since you see right here with the ears, I don't have an exact line of where my ears end, right? That's because it's a bunch of hair. So I'm just gonna pick a spot, and that might be easier if you made just a curved line. So I'm kind of just lightly wisping off. So when I paint, when I get down to this halfway mark, as you can see, I start going over halfway. I started picking my brush up a little bit more, so it's not as dense of a pink right there, and that'll make it easier for me to start adding some other colors down there. So this whole part right down here is all the body, so we do not need to worry about going any farther than that part right there. And just make sure, so I would prefer going closer to the horns, as long as you're getting color on everything. So go back and make sure that there's no white. And my brush is getting dry again, so I'm going to dip it in the water. There we go. Still using the same color. I am just touching up some spots. So I missed some spots. They're white. It's white on my canvas. I'm going to touch it up. Just making sure I got all my white. And I am okay with going over my lines as long as I got the white. We don't want unintentional white marks. All right. So how's everybody doing with the pink? Awesome. I hope mine looks very like baby pinkish right here. So awesome. So we do not need to rinse out our brush. We're using the same dirty brush right now. And then we are going to add some deep yellow, and we're going to start from the bottom and move up. So all I'm doing is I'm going to just take the yellow, the part without the blue in it, and then I'm going to, in loose strokes, I'm just going to be moving it up. So eventually we'll start blending when we get up to there. So going around the cow, start moving upward. If you find that you see a lot of brush strokes, don't worry, because we're gonna do multiple layers, and you can just kind of go back over it. So if you're following along with me on the written instructions, it says loose strokes. So what loose strokes mean is that we don't have to make sure it covers everything. Loose is kind of like just whimsically going over. So I'm not even touching the canvas a lot, but I lightly touching it, and I'm just kind of putting it wherever I feel like putting the yellow paint. So there's not a right or a wrong. So as you can see, there the yellow is kind of there, but it's not I guess a defined yellow. So I'm going to add a little more yellow in here because I want some more yellow. And you can make the streaks in different directions if you want. And this is why I kind of I like these type of paintings, because we don't have to worry about things looking exactly the same. So I am kind of going around the head-ish, but I'm not covering all of the parts yellow. I made some parts much more yellow than others. So I'm just kind of picking it up and just figuring out, I don't know, whatever you feel like at the moment. Just go with that. There we go. Awesome. So how is everybody doing with their background so far? We got some thumbs up. Oh, awesome, Bonnie. Thanks for sharing.
I'm working on watercolor, just so.
Oh, well, this is probably a really good painting to do with watercolor. I can't wait to see it. I've never done it in watercolor, but I bet it would be a lot of fun. So now we are going to, let's see, what color should we add in here? A little bit, let's add some like orange. We need some more orangey colors down here, I think. So I'm, again, still using the same brush, because we're just having fun with color right now. We're just moving it around. So I just got a little bit of orange, just a little bit. And I'm starting out from the bottom, and I'm just making these whimsical brush strokes where I'm not worried about where they're going necessarily. Although I do want it kind of darker on the bottom if I can. But figure out, yeah, oh, there we go. So if you did what I did, so maybe I'll just do it intentionally again. So where there's like a weird streak in here from the brush, you can just go back over it lightly and then lift it up, and then the brush stroke is gone. So you can't see it anymore. And we are just gonna add, again, kind of like we did with the yellow, we're just gonna add it a little bit in some random spots kind of throughout here. I'm not gonna go too far up. Maybe a little bit over behind the cow on the left side. And if you feel like adding orange up higher, you can do that as well. I'm trying to make the bottom a little bit darker than the top. That's my intention. All right, there we go. got all kinds of fun colors going on here. And I'm using different brush strokes. So like, you know, while before we started from top to bottom, now I'm making some left and right strokes. I'm making some vertical strokes, and just kind of switching it up. Awesome. Well, maybe I feel like I want to add a little more orange in the ear right there. Okay. So hopefully, let me know if I'm moving too fast. I've been told I move a little bit slower. So everybody else doing good? Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So we are kind of, you know, we've got a lot of color going on. We got different strokes. I'm going to mix mine up a little bit. I feel like it looks too much up and down. Too many vertical strokes. I want it more different directions. There we go. Okay. So now we are going to use the same paintbrush, and we are going to use some phthalo red. So that is, again, that my phthalo red. Now I can show you guys. My phthalo red looks very pink. I don't know if that's normal, but to me it just doesn't feel like a red color. But it, you know, we're gonna use it. My phthalo red looks pink. So if you have a pink, you can use that as well. And what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna start painting the cow a little bit. So don't worry if you don't love your background. We're not done with it yet. Don't worry. We're gonna add more colors in there. So try not to worry if you're like, I don't know about this painting right now. We got a couple steps left. So we are going to start the cow, and I'm going to start with his back and kind of paint those kind of on the side, some pink strokes. So, oh, geez, I'm gonna paint everywhere already. All right. So we're gonna do a little bit of pink, and I'm gonna find where that back is. And then I'm just gonna move it down. So what I did is I did a curve and then I came down. And so it was flat this way when I did the curve for the back, but then I moved it so I could use this nice sharp point to make kind of like what would be, I guess, like kind of like hair kind of coming down. Oh my goodness, I just got yellow all over. Awesome. Awesome. So then now I'm gonna do a little bit of pink over here on this side of him. So again, I'm working on the body, and you can start using that flat brush. Still using my flat brush. And I'm trying to avoid the face, but I already got it on it a little bit, so that's okay. And now I'm going up to use the tip of my brush so that way I can make these vertical strokes going down. And I'm kind of feathering it up, so I push down, and then so I push down and I lift up. And I'm just gonna make, I got a white mark right here, so I just want to make sure I got that. And then once we've kind of gotten these loose pink strokes on the, let's see, we got the back and the shoulders, we are going to, I'm gonna wipe a little bit of that pink. So again, I'm not worried about mixing the colors because I haven't rinsed my brush yet, right? I still got like a big glob of yellow on there. I'm going to use some phthalo blue to paint in the cow. You can use your, yeah, no, I guess I'll use my big brush. Sometimes at this point there's a lot of blue, so I'm gonna use my big flat brush. So I am going to paint, so we're gonna paint the head and the horns and the ears, and the whole body, really. So we're just gonna go in there, and we're not completely avoiding the pink, but we're gonna kind of go in. As you see, there's kind of some spots in there that need help. So I'm gonna start with the ears and the head. So I am just making a stroke down. Now the ear, oh, I did not do a very good job making my background back there. So what I'm gonna do, I'm actually gonna quickly rinse my brush. I forgot to paint the background color behind his ear. So just gonna grab some colors still on my palette. Got some yellow and some pink. All right, so I am just going in here quickly and I'm gonna add some color. And if you made the same mistake, you can do that as well. I did it on this side, but I didn't do it on that side. So, all right. Then so I just touched up because I don't want his ear to go all the way down to his back. It kind of just goes like it ends right before it. So that's why I went back in. I didn't have a background color. So I'm using my brush up like this. So I'm going to show you on this. So when I'm doing the strokes for the hair, it is on the tip and I'm just going down. And if your tip is not sharp enough, what you can do is you push down on one side and then push down on the other, and it creates a nice sharp tip. And then you can create, as you can see, there are now finer strokes right there. So we are going to take that blue color and we are going to make those strokes to create some hair. We are just pulling it down, not all the way down, but pretty close. I'm doing kind of a curve, so it goes out and then in. And if it touches, it's not a big deal. Mine touched the back, but that's okay. So with the cow, typically the hair is going to be a little bit longer, closer to the face. And then it's going to get a little bit shorter up by kind of, near the corner of the ear. And as you can see, mine is not exact, and that is okay. That looks good to me. It's kind of more natural. And I'm just going to pull this down and start creating some of these marks down here. All right, and then I'm going to go work on the next ear. So I'm going over here. I'm just pulling it down, trying not to worry too much about it being perfect. What we do want to make sure is that when we are painting these brush strokes down, that we are covering all of the gaps of white. So like I said before, I hadn't had any color back there and I knew it was going to be a problem. So if you don't have any and you don't want to color the background, or maybe you don't have that color anymore, what you can do is just make sure that you are covering up all the white. So I'm making I did it super fast, but you know, push down on one side and then push down on the other to get your fine tip, and then start making those strokes. And I'm kind of making those curved strokes, and I am trying to make it a little bit longer, closer to the face than it is farther away from the ear. But I gotta be very intentional about covering up all of these white spaces. So it will usually take a couple strokes, and we have a couple layers here. So don't worry if you can kind of see through your blue right now. We're gonna add some more colors in there. So and if you care, you know, you can kind of measure with your hands, you know, is one ear bigger than the other? This one is wider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over and I'm just going to widen my ear up a little bit so that they seem a little more equal. I go up a little. So it's better to start off smaller because you can always make things bigger. And maybe he's just tilted kind of weird. All right. That looks good. Oh, I got some white marks in here. So I'm just going back. So again, as you start painting, you can notice that, you know, if there's like white still left behind, sometimes it doesn't get covered. So just go back over, start from the top and go to the bottom. So we're always starting up here and then doing our stroke downward. All right, and then I'm going to kind of try to keep this shagginess. So I'm going to kind of follow my zigzags, or it could be, if you made triangles, they could be your triangles as well. So I am just following that with my blue paint. My paintbrush seems a little dry. All right. The reason I said that is that you can notice like there's a lot more white on my canvas because the paint is kind of dragging, it's not gliding as well. So that's why I decided to get some more water. And I am pulling in. I am very loosely following these guidelines that I made for myself. Some of them are not even showing up from before, but that's okay. Like I said, we are not following it exactly. It's just to give us an idea. And let's see, we're gonna make this go up and then kind of give him like a little curve right here. This side I didn't go all the way down, so I'm gonna do that now. I'm gonna go from the ear all the way down. There we go. And you can go back as well and just, I started from the top of the ear and I went all the way down kind of where the edge of the face would be. And now I'm gonna kind of fill in some spots. I got some white spots in here. And I'm just filling them in. Again, my paintbrush is getting so dry. I don't know what's going on. Probably because it's super hot today here in Wisconsin. It feels like 90 degrees outside. Very humid. So I'm kind of glad to be in the air conditioning right now. So I am just going back to these little edges and I am filling in the white because I did those marks. There is a lot of little white spots. So I'm just going in, making sure I covered up everything. And I'm going around the snout. Really, that's kind of where I'm going around it. Eventually we will paint it blue, so no big deal if you did already paint it blue. So I am going to make it go all the way down under the snout, and then let's see, I'm gonna start doing the, I guess I should fill in right up here. I'm losing some of my marks. So as you can see, it does get a little bit harder to see your stencil. So I'm gonna go around, this nose, so I still know where it is. There we go. So as I just kind of paint it in the middle, that way I know where it's supposed to be when I want to paint it in with different colors. And let's see, I would like to kind of paint some of the hair, start painting the hair. So I'm just doing some downward strokes. It look kind of goofy right now. I'm not filling it in completely because we're going to go back in there in a minute. All right, now I probably let my paint dry too much because I did want to kind of blend it with that, but I'm going to probably add some pink in there. Oh, probably going to have to add a little bit of pink in there. My pink is all dry now, so I'm going to add some pink in here. So I'm adding pink where my lines are, because I don't think there's enough variation of color right now. And then I'm repainting the back because I let it dry. But I have a little bit of blue on my paintbrush. Yeah, a lot of that is it's white. I don't know if anybody else is having this problem, but white seems to be leaking through my paint today. All right. So I just touched it up a little bit so that way there is some wet paint that's easier to play with. And then what I did is I am just wiping the paint off of my paintbrush onto the napkin. I haven't used the water yet to rinse it out, but then I'm getting the blue and I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna start where that pink is. And I'm just gonna kind of pick some different spots to start from. So, you know, one spot might be higher than the other, and making those same strokes of going downwards. And I'm just pulling it down. And like I said, we were going to have it start kind of curving inward. So I'm going to do the same thing over here. That is not blending as beautifully. There we go. And that is why I wanted the paint to be a little wet still, because it seems to blend nicer that way. And we just we want the pink to kind of show through in some areas, but primarily this is going to be, it's more bluish colored. And so I am going to continue these strokes and making sure that you are covering all the wet marks. Oh, I got a lot of pink right there. So I am just going in, I'm just, oh no, I think I got a little carried away with the blue over here. So if you get a little carried away,
I lost some of my pink up here. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna grab a little bit of pink and I'm gonna add it back in. And I might need to wipe off the blue because it's turning into purple, but purple is my favorite color, so not necessarily a bad thing. And then I'm just going back in. I'm adding some pink in here because I got a little too carried away. Okay. And now I'm getting carried away with the pink, but that's where you can have a lot of fun. Going back and forth, back and forth. There we go. Now it's starting to come together. Okay, and then I came back up, making sure I just didn't want to go all the way to the top for the whole part to be blue on this side. So I just wanted to be intentional about leaving some pink in there. So then we're just gonna keep making those strokes. So now I got blue on here. It is mixed and I'm going to be trying to fill in the rest of my cow. And if you can, you know, continuing those strokes, those downward strokes where we're trying to imitate kind of big strands of hair coming up. And what I'm doing is to blend it with the pink, starting from the bottom and then going up and then lifting up will kind of help feather it a little bit. I still got some white up here, even with the pink and the blue. So make sure you're covering up your white canvas. My cow is turning into a beautiful, like purpley violet color, which I love. And I'm just keep feathering up. I'm starting from the bottom, pulling it up. And it's okay if you get some of the pink down below, like I just did. I think the variations will help kind of with the look that we are going for, which is kind of more of an abstract painting, lots of fun colors. And so I'm kind of creating like a V, and so that way I'm being intentional about where is the hair coming from and where is it going. And as you can see, it's kind of a little bit, my blue is a little bit darker than the blue around the head. And that's because I got pink in my brush, which is kind of intentional because, and if you don't have that color, so maybe yours isn't as dark, go ahead and get some pink and mix it in with your blue. So that way it is a little bit darker underneath the head. So again, I just, if the pink hasn't been blending in with your blue and creating kind of this violet color, then you can do it intentionally just by adding a little bit of pink in with your blue paint by the body. I need some more water. So we do want the face a little bit lighter colored, and what that does is it makes it look like the face is you know, in front versus everything kind of being flat. You don't want it all to just be the same color, and then that gives it a little dimension. So, you know, there are certain parts here where I noticed that it is not as dark. So I just went in, added a little bit of pink. And if you go over your beard, that's not a big deal. We're gonna add more color in there. I am getting pink everywhere. So you know what? I think I'm gonna add a little bit of pink in these ears just to darken them up a little bit. Just have some darker blue areas. And then I went in and added a little bit of pink, and then I added some more blue. And I'm creating these loose strokes. So it's not all a solid color. There's some areas that have just plain blue, and there's some areas that have the pinkish blue color. And that's what we want to do, is we want to create some variances in colors. And underneath, I grabbed a lot of pink right there. Underneath the face, I want to be very intentional about making it dark, because that's where the shadow is going to be. When you look, the shadow is underneath your chin. So the pink, you know, created that shadow when mixed with blue. All right, yeah, that looks shadowed. Okay. Sometimes when the light is coming in on my painting from up ahead, it is hard to tell what is going on. All right, so I'm pretty happy. There's some like lighter blues down here. There's that blue and pink up in here. Yay, purple. Purple is my favorite color. And then I still got some pink going on up here, and that's cool. I was gonna add I don't know why that little spot is bothering me. There we go. And then we got the ears covered. I think that is a good start. Oh, I'm having all kinds of malfunctions with blue. I think I just found another spot where that blue paint spilled. So the next step is has everybody already kind of gotten this far, or are we doing good? Okay. Thanks, Bunny. Typically I do move slower, so I apologize if you're all just like, okay, what's the next part? So the next part is we are gonna mix in. So like right down here, we mixed in the phthalo red, right, with the blue, and that created that darker blue. So now we're going to use the deep red. So that is a darker color, right? The phthalo red is lighter, and then this is the deep red. So we're using a darker red, and we are going to mix. Let's see, how many parts should we? Well, I guess let's do 4 parts red. I'm just mixing it in my blue spot right here. 1, 2. And when I say part, I did like a full scoop on there. Oh, thanks. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I have 4 parts deep red, and then I'm gonna get a part blue in here, and I'm mixing it all up. And give it a try. Sometimes because parts, you know, it's not an exact measurement. It's like we're cooking instead of baking. If you don't have this color, it's not black. It kind of looks like it's black. It's got a little bit of a reddish hue, but it is not black. It's kind of almost like a dark brown, almost, with a little bit of blue. So if you didn't get this, kind of play around with how much blue do you need? Do you need to add more blue or whatnot?
And we are going to paint the top of the head because we're gonna make this a little bit darker right here, and then we're gonna do his nostrils. So I'm making a fine tip. This is such a big brush. Sometimes I like switching over. I might have to. I'm not sure yet. So I am still using my big flat brush. Now, if you have a smaller canvas and the head is smaller, you know, definitely consider maybe moving onto a smaller brush if you want. And I am just gonna paint. So this is a pretty dark color. I don't know. I think I might add a little more blue in there. All right, now mine's more purpley. It's more like a dark purple. It tends to be, I don't know, I love purple. So yeah, get a feel for the color. If you don't like it, like mine was turning out kind of brownish, I wasn't feeling it. So you can go add more blue or more red. We just want it to be darker than the rest of his face. And I'm starting from the top and I'm going to pull it down. Pull it down. And I'm gonna go use my tip again. I can move it down, 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 down. All right. If you don't like it, if it like, look, my guy, it's kind of oblong shape. So I'm just gonna go back in. I start from the center and then I push it out and I round it out that way. Don't start from out and then in. Always start from in because then you can nudge it outward. Like he had a round head to begin with. Nobody knows the difference. There we go. It's more round now. And I'm just gonna fill that in. And then, so as you can see, I didn't go all the way down, right? Because I want to make these wispy type marks. And so in order to do that, I need a sharp tip. So I'm pushing down on both sides. And now I have a nice fine point. And now I'm going to, with my brush, see how straight up and down it is? I'm going to pull it from up here and then I'm going to go down. And I'm not going crazy, you know, because we can always make it go out farther, but we can never, we could paint over it, but it's easier to just start up higher. I'm getting paint everywhere. I feel like I'm like painting like my kids right now. So then, and I wouldn't recommend going exactly, see how zigzaggy it is? I mean, you could have it look like that, but I wouldn't recommend just having it look like zigzags, you know, have it more free flowing, just lightly pull it out and then whatever happens, happens. And sometimes it doesn't happen exactly like how we have it stenciled. And I think that looks more authentic. And so now I'm pulling it down. And as you can see, it is no longer as sharp as zigzaggy. It doesn't look like I intentionally put it anywhere specific. I'm going to round out the top of his head now because that is weirdly shaped. So again, I'm starting from the center and then I'm pushing it out. Pushing it out and then I can round it because I don't want to make his head too big. Although sometimes that's cute, having a big-headed animal. I think that's what like a lot of the animes do. My kids are really into graphic novels right now and anime. So we have a house full of artists. And they actually make their own graphic novels in their notebooks. So they have lots of big-headed characters. And what I apologize, I'm gonna have to move my canvas because my paint is wet and I'm literally getting it all over. So I just have to move it around so I can get to this edge without touching it
with my arm. So again, I'm starting up in the top. It's always easier to start at the top and then move your way down. And that's not exactly, so I'm starting from the center and pushing it out and I'm going down. And then I'm gonna swirl around his head. And I'm sure many of you have noticed by now, if you did have a stencil, it is like almost not even visible anymore. So that is why I said try not to worry. Yes, I did move my canvas upside down. I'm sorry. I just gotta do this one. It just sometimes the right angle. This is a good angle for me. So I am going to kind of pull it down. Let's see, pull it down. I want to pull it down to maybe, okay, so if this is the top of his nose, kind of stop around that part on the edge of his head. It's not a big deal if he went further. Oh, making his head really big now. And then I need some water. I don't know if you can tell, this is kind of like a dark purpley color. It's very cool. I am so glad I added just a tiny bit more blue in my paint. So I am super happy with the color. So now I'm starting up from the top and I'm pulling it down and I'm making some hair flowing in the face. And some of it is going where I drew. Some of it is covering up the part I drew. And I like that. And if yours is looking too cookie cutter or, ooh, like I noticed mine is starting to really come, just like all come in, but we do want it to kind of not necessarily all go towards the center. So you could, what you could do is if yours is all gravitating towards this point, like mine, you could go back and get the brush and just make a couple outward strokes. And it will help balance it out. That's not on the painting though. He doesn't have any weird hairs out like that, but so I apologize. I went off track right there. I went out of the instructions. So I am just gonna keep following downwards. All right. Awesome. He kind of looks like he has like a bowl haircut. So I don't know if anybody remembers that, where you put the bowl over the head and then you just cut around. Looks like over there. Awesome. Trying to decide whether or not I want his hair to go a little bit longer or if I should wait to the next step. I am going to move to a smaller brush, actually. Let's see. I'm going to use my number 12 and I'm going to show you how my bright brush, because before I got this paintbrush, I didn't have bright brushes and I actually couldn't find any. And Michael, I don't know why, I was having a really hard time finding them. But the bright brush looks a lot like the flat brush, right? It's just smaller. The bristles aren't quite as long. And yeah, it is a smaller width as well. This is a number 12 bright brush. So this is a little bit easier to kind of get into some smaller areas. And I'm going to make some dark marks. I'm going to use that same dark. And again, I dipped, if you're switching paintbrushes, make sure you get it wet before you start using it. And we are going to do the nostril. We're going to do kind of just the outline of it. And what that's gonna do is it's gonna give it some shadows. So it's gonna look goofy. I'm gonna tell you, it is gonna look goofy. I just noticed some white paint up here. So I'm double check your painting. I am finding all kinds of white spots everywhere. We're gonna do an outline and then we're gonna cover it up a couple times, and that undercolor is gonna make it look like there's some shadows in there. So if you can still find where your line is, I can't really, but I'm just gonna make it up as I go. I'm gonna create the outline, kind of like I'm drawing it, but with my brush. So I'm not coloring in the inside, I'm just coloring the outside. And so I got that top arc right there. And then it kind of goes in right here. Oh, I probably should have painted that blue down there. So I chose to go around and then up. And then as you can see, there's kind of, it kind of looks like it's not exactly meeting. So again, I'm just gonna go back in and I'm gonna start from the center and I'm gonna go around to connect them. There we go. And then we're gonna go back to the center and I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So make sure you got enough paint on your paintbrush. And then we're going around town. There we go. And I'm gonna go in and touch it up. Not that. All right, there we go. I'm kind of coloring a little too much. So if you are, hopefully you didn't color as much in as I did, because I wanted to make kind of the marks in here, but I'm getting a little carried away with this purple. So the next part is the top of the nose. So I'm trying to create like a diamond shaped, I guess, kind of right here. And then I'm gonna go around. So we drew those nostrils and I'm gonna kind of go around those. And then it creates basically like a triangle in the middle, kind of like a curved triangle. And I told you it wasn't gonna look like a lot because we're doing a lot of layering here. So we just need to get a feel of like, where is the nose gonna be? And no, we are going to add more in there. How is everybody doing so far? Okay. And I try not to worry too much. I think it kind of looks, mine definitely looks kind of goofy. I went a little overboard with painting it all dark right away. But so what we kind of did is it kind of looks like a upside down pretzel, I guess. A little bit right there. And I'm trying to figure out if I want to make my hair longer or what. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna add, I don't know whether or not to mess with it. Just for the fun of it, because I feel like doing this right now, is I'm gonna add a couple of these. I just have a very little amount of paint on my paintbrush, and I'm going to start from the not quite the bottom, but before the hair strands come out, and I'm just gonna create a couple strokes on the ear. I just need to create a little more depth in my ear. I think I colored like too much orange in there or something. So there is, and those marks aren't gonna really show up later, but I just wanted to have a little more dimension in there, a little more color going on. I am missing what I am doing. I have a lot of white still showing up on my canvas. So like right here, there is some white, and then on here, I should have colored that blue. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna go and I'm gonna touch that up. So I wanna make sure it's all blue right here. So I'm rinsing out my paintbrush because I don't really wanna use that dark color anymore. I just want the solid phthalo blue. And I should have colored that earlier, but oh well. So all I'm doing is I'm coloring in that part. There we go. And if possible, you know, try to make kind of those vertical strokes. Not always easy to do when you're going around, say, the nostrils, but try when you can. And then I am going to fill in, let's see, oh, we haven't colored his horns yet either. So actually I want to make it a little bit lighter. So I'm gonna add, let's see, I'm running out of room on my palette. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a little tip of white and I'm gonna mix it in. If you want to be exact, maybe 2 parts phthalo blue and 1 part white. And what it's doing is it's creating kind of a lighter blue. And I'm going to try to create more of a defined face in here. So, sorry, I'm trying to get all this paint off my hand. So what I'm going to do, and again, it kind of reminds me of cobalt blue a little bit. So that was 2 parts blue, 1 part white. And I'm going to do his horns. I'm going to do kind of this part of the face and the chin, and then inside the nostrils. Maybe add some in the ears too. I miss it. I have some white in my ears. Yikes. All right, so let's get these horns. And I'm using the number 12 bright brush, but you are welcome to use whatever brush you are comfortable with. I usually use, or before I got these, I used the Filbert a lot. An angle brush too might be really nice. So I am trying to be more careful this time about going around the ears. And I am using the flat side of my brush this time. So, you know, before I was doing this to create kind of those hair strokes, but I am painting the horns and they are more smooth. Now, if you need to, you know, definitely push down on one side and push down on the other so you create a sharp tip because you want it to be a smooth line if possible. And sometimes that's hard, so you can't always go back in and smooth it out. All right, going up. All right, and there we go. I started the horn and now I'm going up from the other side. I'm starting from the horn over by the head and then I'm moving up. And you do want the horn to get a little bit smaller at the edge, right? It's got more of a tip. It doesn't have to be a super sharp tip, but
You do want it to be a little pointy on the top. So what I'm using is I'm actually using the width of my paintbrush as a good size for the tip of the horn. So as you can see, it's kind of more of a blunt tip, but you are welcome to make a pointy tip as well if you want. I am just trying to smooth out my brush strokes by going back over them. And if you notice there's some choppy areas, you can do that too. I am pretty happy with that horn. So now I'm going to move on to the other one. See if I can get to it. Okay, I am going to have to move my canvas. And oh, I just noticed some white marks over here. I'm not getting very good coverage today. All right. There we go. And I almost started painting my ears. So no, we are painting the horns right now. So go pretty slowly around the head if you want to kind of keep that nice and smooth. So instead of it kind of being jagged, I'm trying to be very intentional about being a nice smooth curve. And if you don't like how it turned out, or if you went too far into the head, hopefully you're like me and you got a bunch of that paint still left on your canvas and you can go and touch it up. And then I'm going to move the horn up. So we are starting from the edge, or right from the head, and then working our way up, 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 up. Ooh, and that is weird shape, but that's okay. I'm gonna even it out. All right. So I guess this side is gonna have a little not as pointy of an edge. And sometimes, like this is where I probably should have moved to a smaller paintbrush so I could get the tip that I want. But I really like sticking with a couple paintbrushes if possible. All right, and then I'm just closing up. So I am just using that blue right here. So I haven't added any other colors in there. Oh, hopefully that ain't confuse anybody putting it sideways like that. So if yours is like me, like one of my tips is a little bit wider, I could go over here and make it wider as well. I want to even it out. I was really happy with this one. See, and then when you mess with it, all right. Gotta make my sharp tip. And I'm touching it up. There we go. So we now painted that blue. And again, we were using 2 parts blue, 1 part white, create this pretty blue color. And then I'm going to, let's see, we are going to paint around his face with this color. Yeah, the kind of down here. So I don't have very much of this blue, so I'm gonna have to make a little bit more. So 2 parts. Oh, 2 parts phthalo blue. Oh, let's hope I get the same color. There we go. Sometimes my parts are not the same size. That looks pretty similar. Okay.
So how's everybody doing with the horns and the ears? Doing good? Doing great. You're doing great. I can see lots of blue over there. What I'm gonna do is, let's see. I'm trying to figure out which part I want to start with. I think start with inside his nose, because once I do that, it's gonna be harder to do the other part. So let's go in and color some lighter blue in there. So he's got a little bit of a light blue right there, and I'm just filling in the spots, getting rid of that white. Try not to worry if it's not looking like how you imagine. We still have several more layers of color going on here. So right now we're just still trying to cover up all that white that keeps showing up. There we go. All right. And then we're going to paint his face, because like his face right now, or at least with mine, it's still kind of choppy colored, and I can still see some of my brush strokes in there. So I'm gonna push down, make sure I get a nice fine tip, and I'm gonna try to make his face more clearly defined. And let's see, so I am going to start from right here, and my face got kind of narrow, but his face should really be more like a basketball, right? But mine is getting kind of narrow, so I'm going to use this blue, this opportunity, to widen his face again. And I'm going to do that by starting up here by the hair, and then I'm going to push it out, going up to the hair. Yeah, then we're going down. And I'm making those strokes. So again, my paintbrush now is up and down. I'm not using this side, the long side. I'm using it, just the tip of it. And I'm gonna go back over here, help widen his face. There we go. Now his face is wider. Maybe you guys didn't do that, but there's always opportunities to touch things up. So I'm going in, I'm just making some strokes, some of those vertical strokes, and kind of going around his face. I'm trying not to get that dark paint. I'm trying not to get on this part right here where the nose is. So I'm just going up as closely as possible to it, but if you go over it a little bit, that's okay. We can always we're gonna add in a little bit more dark paint again. I'm just trying not to get all the way up there. And let's see, I'm gonna oval out his face. There we go. Boop. And I bet his face is gonna, okay. I like the shape of it. I'm happy that I did that. So now I'm gonna go up here, and I'm just gonna touch up some spots. My blue again is kind of see-through. You can see some of my brush strokes, and it also gives you opportunity if you want to change anything about the way the hairline is going, so we can use the blue to go up, and maybe you went too far with the blue and you want less hair, or maybe you want more hair, and we'll be adding another layer in the hair in just a little bit. So his hair kind of is a little bit shaggier on the sides, but I think I made it too long right here. So I am going to use this blue to kind of maybe make it not so shaggy just on the side. He was really just rocking this long hair on the edges, but I'm gonna give him a haircut with the blue. Just trim it up. Oh, I got around his face. Okay. And we are not trying to cover the whole area. We're just making intentional marks and like making sure there's like brighter blue in this area. So if you can still see the previous blue, that's perfect. If you did paint over all of it, that's okay. We've still got other layers to go as well. So we want lots of different shades of blue. Whoa, I put a big chunk of paint. So that, that actually reminds me that it is really important to make sure you don't have too much paint on your paintbrush. So a lot of times I'm using a paper plate, so I'm pushing down on the paper plate and I'm pulling off all of that excess paint. I mean, I want paint on my paintbrush, but if you have too much, you won't have control over where it's going. And then sometimes things go a little crazy, a little out of hand. But as you can see, we can always go in and change some stuff. I am digging him right now. He needed a haircut on the sides. So just trimmed it up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so we got in there. My horns are just a little too see-through. I'm gonna add another layer to my horn because the blue is getting kind of see-through in some areas, and I covered my horn with some orange. So I have to make sure that sometimes if you do paint over, say where the horn was gonna be, like with the orange, like I kind of went over it, that area is a little bit darker because the orange is still kind of, it's being seen through it. So I have to do a second layer of blue just so it covers up the orange. So maybe you didn't do that, but and then I'm just gonna, I have lots of this blue, so I'm just adding a little more in the middle. Let's see, and then I kind of want to add a little bit to the ears. I'm not going to add a lot to the ears. And the reason I'm not going to add a lot, so I do want, we have a lot of blue in here, but we want to keep like some different colors of blue. And I want the ears to stand out from the horn. I don't want them to kind of blend together. So what I'm going to do, kind of like I did with that darker color, is I'm going to pick a couple areas, but I'm not going to paint the whole ear this brighter blue. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not going all the way to the edge. So I'm keeping kind of an edge of dark or blue. And then I'm just going to use, some of those strokes that we were using before. Ooh, I like that. I'm gonna do it up close. So what I did is when I started it, I started right here instead of up to the top. So I left a little bit with that dark, and you can still see there's some of that dark paint right here too. But I feel like that added a lot. That looks really good. And then I'm gonna do the same thing over here. And I'm following kind of some of those marks. I'm gonna add he's a very shaggy cow. So I'm gonna go over here and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm not coloring all of it, right? I'm just making a couple brush strokes. So, and what I want to do, I'm gonna get normally I have a blank piece of paper to show everybody. So this layer of blue on the ears, if we were to do it on white paper, what I did is I went like this. So if this is how much blue I put on the ears with the light color,
there's still that darker color in there. There's still a lot of other color, but I did not cover the whole part. I just made a couple strokes. Just a couple. I mean, it's pretty easy to get carried away too. So if you do, don't worry. You can always go in and add some more dark in there. But I am pretty happy. All right. There we go. So we got the horns, we have the ears, the mouth. I'm gonna paint a little bit down here because I have some white again. The more this dries, the more white I see on here. So I'm just gonna paint a couple strokes. Again, I'm not painting a lot. I'm just covering these white areas where the paint did not touch for some reason. Maybe I'm not putting enough paint on my canvas, huh? So, oh, and I still can see the white. What is going on? I'm gonna add a little bit of water in here. Maybe my brush is not wet enough. There we go. Yeah, if you're having the struggles, maybe we're not adding enough water in our paint. All right, there we go. So, if you're trying to copy me, I really was just trying to cover the white spots, but you don't have to add it down here, but I had some spots that the paint was not covering my canvas yet. So if you notice, just take a look around, see if there's any parts. There's more parts over here. See how important it is to have water on your brush. All right, there we go. Oh, I found another white spot right there. I'm just touching up my canvas right now. While I got this blue paint, before I move on to the next step, I'm just making sure all of that's touched up. Okay. I don't want a white cow. We want the blue cow. That's fun. Blue and purple. Give me a thumbs up if you have a blue cow and you are ready to move on to the next step. Yeah, Bonnie, that looks great. Are you? I don't see you didn't color the top of. Oh, do you have two of them? Oh, that's awesome. Awesome. Very cool. I love it. I love it. So I just rinsed out my brush because I'm trying to decide whether or not to move to a smaller paintbrush. I know I said I was going to be working with the number 12, but I think I want to move. I think I do want to move to a number 8. I think my canvas is small enough to do that. So I'll leave that in there. I was gonna move to my number 8 flat. So it's just like my number 12, it's just a little bit smaller. And then we are going to mix, let's see, 4 parts white and a small part of green. And my green and the white happen to be next to each other, so that's good. All right, let's do this. 4 parts. Trying to find room on here. 3, 4, and then a small. So remember, a small, it was just like the tip of the brush, just the tip of it. But I feel like I'm not doing a good job mixing that here. There we go. It's kind of like a minty type green, like kind of reminds me of toothpaste a little bit. And if you don't like that color, feel free to change it up. What we are doing with this color though is we are going to be like adding some random brush strokes in the background, and then create some highlights here on these blue parts. So let's see, I'm gonna, and when I say random, I mean just like kind of, I don't get a feel. I'm gonna make sure I got some water on my paintbrush because it's been kind of drying out here. So I guess I'm gonna start with this, and I'm just making some random brush strokes, and what happens. Try to like, so because these are vertical, I'm gonna make a horizontal one over here, right? And I'm gonna do another one over there, and I'm just gonna just whatever. Just make some marks wherever. Sometimes this is the hard part to do, right? To let go and just have fun. But this is where you want to be able to just let go and let whatever happens happen. And I'm just putting them in random spots, right? So no rhyme and reason. I am kind of trying to space them out a little bit so I get them in, I guess, in different areas. I want to look at the original. And if you're not comfortable, you can go in and try to do what I call like a dry brush. So if you're not like comfortable with some of the marks, you can go in and when your brush is dry, you can kind of smear it a little bit, and then it blends in. So this gives it a dry brush effect. And it's a way of like kind of pushing the color around. So like there is no paint. There's not really any paint on my paintbrush right now, but what I'm using is I'm using the paint from here, and my brush is super, super dry. But it's kind of a way for me to blend that blue into the background. So like right here, there's some wet paint and I'm pulling it. So this is a vertical stroke. I'm pulling it horizontally and it's kind of feathering it out. So if you're like, oh man, I just ruined my background, that might make you a little more comfortable if you kind of use this dry brush effect too. Oh, and then I'm just gonna go in. I'm gonna be like, so I feel like mine looks a little weird because I don't have any on the edge, right? So I'm going in and I'm just like making sure, oh, try not to get it on your cow, not intentionally, but that's okay if you do. And then, it looks like I'm avoiding him, like, so it's not, I don't know how to put this, but it looks like, like I put the blue on after, right after I painted the cow, which I did, but we still kind of wanted to have that background look. So try to get up in a couple of spots, get close to the cow, maybe not exactly touching it, but where it still looks like it's very more free flowing. And there we go. And I am already out of that color, so I'm gonna have to add some. Hopefully everybody is feeling okay about their random brush strokes. Yeah, hopefully.
So I'm gonna get, my brush is super dry now, so I'm just gonna get a little more. And then you can go in and maybe make some colors a little bit darker. Or I shouldn't say darker, but have more of a color in there. So again, this is an abstract painting. There's supposed to be color in different directions. So make some horizontal, make some vertical. And I accidentally got some white in here, but I kind of like that actually. So if you're, I accidentally got a little more white in my blue. I think it's turning out really cool. So I need to make a little bit more. Once you are done with your random blue strokes, we are going to make some highlights. Ooh. How are we doing on time? Okay. We are getting close to time, so I will try. I am so sorry for being so slow. Normally this should only be, you know, about a 2-hour painting, but we're on step number 3 out of 7. So I am letting you guys know I'm running a little bit slower than normal, so I apologize. If you are getting impatient, you could at this point kind of let things dry and then come back to like the YouTube video to speed ahead and stuff. So again, I'm gonna make a little bit more of that color, and that was 4 parts white and a little bit of green or phthalo green. So I am just mixing up some more. I just ran out of that color. And now I'm going to create some highlights on the horns. This is going to start making him look more fun. I am using my number 8 bright brush, and I'm going to start from, I'm not quite going, well, I guess I will try. I'm going to start with the flat edge facing towards the head, and then I'm going to pull it around and up. And if you don't like the way that looked, you can always go back over it, kind of like I did. And I did want it to go all the way up, but I didn't do that. So I'm just going to pull it up. So you can do that in 1 or 2 strokes, but we just want kind of like a lighter. So the highlight is on the top of the horn, right? So the horn is getting the light from the sun, which is coming from the top. And then I'm gonna go do it on the other side. So the bottom half is gonna stay that blue, that darker blue. The lighter blue is only, I guess, is kind of a greenish blue, but that is on the top. And I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. And it's okay if it kind of goes off track like mine a little bit. And I'm just gonna make sure it goes all the way to the tip of that horn, right? Because the top of the horn is going to be light colored. And if yours is too thin, I do want, if you can, try to make it a little bit thicker towards the end over here. So make it a little bit thicker and then get narrow, kind of like the horn did when we painted that first blue color. It was thicker down here, and then I got more narrow. So that's what we're trying to do with the shadow or with the highlight as well. And you can go back and add more in there.
try not to worry too much about it. We are going to add more. So don't worry if you think it looks goofy. Mine's kind of all over the place. So then I'm going to take the brush and I'm going to use it standing up like this so I can use the tip. And I'm just going to create some highlights in the ear. So kind of like what I did with the other blue is I'm going to start from the top and go down. And I'm just going to create, let's say 4 brush strokes on each ear. And I'm going to go from the top to the bottom. So we're using downward strokes. So I'm going to go up and then you just pull it down. And then you're going to lift your paintbrush up when you get up there. And there we go. So 4 of them. And it actually doesn't have to be 4, but just to give you a number if you needed one. And then I'm going to go over to the other side and I'm going to create the same. I'm going to create a couple. So again, I'm not painting the whole thing. I'm just doing a couple of spots. And mine look way too symmetrical. So I'm going to disturb it up a little bit. I don't want mine to look as intentional, so I'm making some horizontal strokes in here because they're looking too intentional about where it was going. So, and we are going to add more blue and some other color in there. So try not to worry about your light blue. And then we are going to add some strokes around the face. So let's see. Or I shouldn't say around the face. We're going to do them around the nose. So we got a couple light marks. I'm creating a curve. So I'm going around. I'm using this shape as a guide to how to make my brush strokes. So I'm going to start pretty close and kind of go around. I'm not going all the way around. I'm just picking a couple spots to go around the mouth. And then I'm going to make a little highlight right here. And I'm going to make another one over there. I'm just going to kind of find a couple. And as you can see, I'm kind of making it curve around the face. And I'm going to create another one over here. And my brush is getting a little dry, but I kind of like that effect a little bit where we're just pulling some of the color around. This is very light color. I think I added too much white in mine, but that'll just make the highlights pop. And if you don't, like, let's say you're not happy with your highlights because it's just too much, go back and grab some of that blue that you had before and you can go in and blend it in there and make it not as dramatic. So I picked up some of that other blue. I'm probably to kind of blend some of it. It's more fun to work with some wet paint. It was probably because it was going too slow here. So I'm sorry. And then just kind of mess around with, how do you want them to go? But we do want a couple highlights around the face. And then once we are happy with that, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to add a little bit of this blue in here because I'm not super happy with my highlights on my ears. So I am adding some other blue. And I'm just keeping those strokes. So as you're adding color, so, you know, if you don't like your highlights and you're adding, you know, that previous blue, just make sure you're making the same strokes. So going from the top to the bottom. So we're you know, going vertical strokes. And then we'll create some consistency there. All right. I am much happier with my highlights on there. How's everybody doing with their highlights? Are they mad at their highlights, or? I was a little frustrated with mine. I think I made mine super light, but my color was a little bright, and that is why I went in and added that darker blue. And you can do that too. So let's see, what should we do next? We should go in and add a little more shading in this nose. That doesn't really look like a nose yet, does it? So I am going to use just plain phthalo blue. So I'm rinsing off my brush because I want to get rid of that light color. Oh boy, I'm trying to decide. Well, we'll start with the nose, and I feel like I need to do a little bit more with his body because I'm noticing all this white on there. Okay, so phthalo blue. We got phthalo blue, a nice wet brush, and I am going to define his nose a little bit more. And let's see. What I want to do is, and I know you probably can't see your marks anymore, right? Because I want to make that nostril in. Let's see if I can find my template. The nostril kind of looked like a teardrop, and I am going to make that out of this. So right now I have a big blob. It doesn't look like much of a nostril. So I'm going to try to turn it into one by going around, let's see, going around part of it. I still want to create, I just still want to leave some of it light, but I'm just making it smaller now. So if you could see, it's like an almond now, a small almond over there. There we go. And then his nose, yeah, starting to look a little bit more like a nose. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'm just making his nostrils a little bit smaller now. Going around. And it's okay. Like I'm actually covering up part of that dark part too. Let's see. It's mine doesn't, I'm trying to think if it's still kind of big. Make mine a little bit smaller. And you're gonna have to play around a little bit and see what, you know, what part you need to cover. So I'm basically covering up the part of the light blue that maybe is just too much light blue. And oh, I want a little happy over there. And then I'm going to make the top highlight smaller as well. So now there, you can see this is wet paint. This is the dry paint. So I just made little areas a little bit, you know, I just made it a little bit smaller. So here's the highlight on the top of the nose. Here, like where the nostrils will be. Ooh, I'm gonna go. I feel like they need to be a little bit smaller. Let's go in. Oh, like I said, you could do the same painting over and over again, but usually your paintings don't always end up exactly the same. The way you mixed your colors and whatnot. Let's see. I'm trying to decide if I want this nostril smaller. I feel like it's just so big. All right, let's just make it a little bit. There we go. I wonder if I made his nose too big. And I'm just going over the edge, kind of like the outline of the nose again with the phthalo blue. I haven't changed anything. There we go. I promise we're not done with this yet. So we still have some other stuff to add in there. Let's see, I'm going to add some phthalo blue. Where else do I want to make it darker? Probably under his chin a little bit. Get it really dark, kind of in some of these spots. Yeah. Okay. So I'm got again just phthalo blue. I'm going underneath his chin. I'm making those loose brush strokes. It's okay if they're not if you're not covering up everything. And I just want to go underneath his neck. There we go. And the part that we want to make sure that is darker is right kind of here, centralized underneath his head. So I'm just using phthalo blue and I'm just filling it in. And what it's doing is it's creating some more shadows here. And I'm trying to still kind of make some of those sweeping marks up. So there's color in different areas. And yeah, because I got the pink up there. So I gotta be careful about it looking weird. Here we go. All right, so I want to kind of keep going down. I do want this part to be darker as well. So I'm gonna create that dark shadow right here. So again, and we're going all the way down to the bottom of the canvas. All the way down. I don't know if mine is darkening as much as I want it to. All right. This is a good time if you make sure you got your white canvas painted. I know I keep saying it because I keep missing spots. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna take some of this phthalo blue. So my focus was this area, but I'm gonna touch up some areas that are still white on my canvas. There we go. Yeah, hopefully you guys aren't having the same problem. All right, yeah. Okay, I got some good paint coverage over here now. Make sure your paintbrush is wet. And then I'm just gonna add some more spots over here because I got more white canvas. And I'm not painting all of it. I'm just painting the spots that need paint. All right. There we go. How's everybody's cow turning out? Awesome. Awesome sauce. All right, I think I'm happy with my shadows in there. Let's see, we got the nostrils. I think I might add a little bit. I don't know if you guys have any strokes, any white spots up in the hair up here, but I do. Okay. I will wet my brush and then I will fill in the parts that are still white. And my hair looks kind of goofy actually over here. So I'm just gonna darken it up. And if you're feeling like adding some shadows, well, I guess maybe we'll do the shadows and the horns and stuff a little bit in a little bit. So we got this, and let's see. Let's start working on like putting some, I guess maybe some more of the red hair in the nose or in the head and stuff. So I really do want to, I'm sorry, I keep changing up my mind, but I am going to add a little bit of blue in here because I'm not digging my blue on my horn. So I'm just going in and I'm kind of breaking up some of that light color because I feel like I had too much in there. Oh, there we go. I wanted to look more imperfect. I don't know how to where everything is not exactly, the same consistency and there's some variances. So now I am happy with the change in there. So all I did was I painted over a couple areas with the phthalo blue. And then that created some like where it's like it's thick and then it's thin and then it's thicker. So it's changing up some stuff. And then I think I'm going to do the same thing to some of my highlights around the mouth. I was going to add a couple dark strokes around the mouth. There we go. All right, I'm digging this. I'm glad I added a little, but I made my highlights a little bit darker. Super happy with it now. So now I'm gonna move on to working on. We're on step 4. We are gonna work on the red hair, or it kind of looks reddish to me. And I'm gonna grab
my other palette. So what colors we are gonna do is 2 parts phthalo red and 1 part white. So it's gonna be kind of pinkish again. So that is my deep red. 1, 2. All right, so this is a little bit of a darker red because I think before we had more white, but now we have, this is 2 parts red, so phthalo red, and then 1 part titanium white. So if you notice, this is a much darker color than the first pink that we made. And I am going to make some strokes, some pink strokes on the nose, and let's see. I'm trying to get a feel for how I should do this. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go around the shape again, but I'm not gonna go all the way to the tip. So like we are going to create a little bit. So if here is my outline, so we got this weird bean shaped nose. We are going to paint the pink right around the edge, but it's not going to the edge. So you see, like here would be the ends of our nose. We're not going quite up to there. Not quite. And if you do go over it, that's okay. Try not to worry about it. We are gonna go around and I'm trying not to get to the edge, but some of the parts are, so that's okay. And there we go. So I went, it looks goofy right now. Yes, it does. And then we are going to make some kind of color in these pink right here. We're gonna keep it kind of blue in the middle. And I'm just gonna trying to get a feel for how I'm going around. I'm slowly moving in towards the nose. I do want to, oh, I didn't want to go that far, but all right. So this is it's looking weird. I know it. This is sometimes this is like the hard part because we're just doing so many layers, but you know, we are, I think I made my nose maybe a little too big, but what we're doing right here is we're just, you know, his nose is going to have kind of this pinkish reddish hue to it. So I'm trying to make it look more like, there we go. All right, so we're keeping these, you know, the nostrils in there, and then we're going around the edge, but not completely to the edge, if that makes any sense.
Right now, it reminds me of kind of like a cow, or I should say pig nose a little bit. I think oh, you know what? I made it too round at the top. That's what I did on mine. So I was trying to figure out why it's reminding me of a pig. But I'm gonna grab some blue and I'm going to give it a little dip. There we go. There we go. Okay. Oh man, I made his nose so big. All right, I am feeling better about this nose now. There we go. So you do want it to kind of go in a little bit, like not a lot, but you do want it to go in a little bit towards the center, kind of like it's getting pinched. So almost, you know, this is maybe an exaggeration, but you know, where we're going in like this. So it does go in just a little bit. And I went over, let's see. All right, we got some pink in there, and then we're gonna add some pink to, we'll make some more strokes on the shoulder of the cow. So this is where we're gonna be more loose. So you see how there's like a nice straight edge? At this point, I'm gonna go up over the edge. So I am going to start, let's say maybe right here, and I'm gonna pull it down. And I'm gonna just kind of make some marks. And I'm trying to look at the original at the same time, see how far down I went. Let's see, we went about down, you know, a little bit past the head is about as far as we want to go. And so I'm going above the line and we're pulling it down. We're just pulling it down, making some strokes. And I'm gonna pull it a little bit further. No, I'm running out of color now. All right, so again, that color was 2 parts phthalo red and parts white. All right, there we go. And then I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna create some squigglies as well. Let's see, I want it to go in a little bit more. And so the red, or actually the pink, kind of comes more from the edge and then it gets less as it comes in towards the body. So as you can see, I'm not trying to do too much right here in the center, but right here we can kind of have it a couple of different marks down. All right.
There we go. And then we are going to do a couple marks up on the top of the head as well. So with these, you know, we are, think of it as a strand of hair that's showing. So we are going to, I guess we could always just start in the middle. So you just kind of want to do a squiggly. So that's like a strand of hair that's falling down, right? So then we'll do another squiggly. And start from the top and then work your way down. And at this point, actually, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have been doing this. Mine is not going all the way to the edge. You do want it to go over the edge, but I can still do that, right? I keep running out of paint. Gotta make more paint. All right. So I'm just going in, and they've got kind of curly hair. So, you know, you can create some twists and, well, not twists, but little turns. And pulling it in a couple different places. And it, you do want the very top to have a lot more of that pink color than down here, right? It's less down here, and it's very dense up here, up on the top of the head. So if you have to keep coming back up to the top and then dragging it down, you can. And I am just pulling a couple, there we go. We're just making squiggly marks. You don't want the whole thing to turn into a big pink blob. If it is, again, you're gonna probably want to get that that dark blue back out, and you can just go and touch it up. Now I'm creating a couple of strands from the bottom as well to make sure we're getting in there. So I want it to go pretty far down, but I don't want it to be solid pink. So I do have a lot of pink up here, and if you have that problem too, just go and get your dark color back out, and then you can kind of mess with it. And so yeah, I can just add a little bit of blue in there, and I, you know, maybe I want to add a few. Maybe you're not liking, you know, you feel like you have too much pink, go ahead and just add some blue in there. And you just want to make sure you're kind of doing you're twisting, you're swirling it a little bit. So in not straight, we're giving a little bit of a curve and an edge, and their hair is a little bit curly. Okay, so I'm gonna add a little bit of blue up in my pink over here as well.
So I'm just getting that phthalo blue, and then I'm going over some of the areas that I think maybe are too much. I think I have way too much fun, like going back and forth. There we go. All right. Ooh, I like that. Also, when I pull a pink down there, I like how that looks too. Super good. Okay. Once you are happy with the pinks and the blues, we are going to add some lighter blue in there. So we're gonna do a 3-part titanium white and 1 part phthalo blue. So I'm gonna swap mine. So again, I said 3 parts white. So 1, 2, 3. Oh, there's some pink. So let's not do that. Okay. Trying to figure out what part 1, 2, 3, and then part 1 part blue. So this is actually supposed to be a little bit lighter than that other color. So I don't think I have enough white in mine. I'm gonna wipe my paintbrush off. I got so much paint on here. All right. And then what we are gonna do is there we go. Okay. We're gonna make some strokes on here and see where do I think they need them. That's such a light color. I'm gonna make, I guess I'm gonna start with, let's see. Hi, Evan. How you doing? Okay, awesome. That's good. I actually decided I don't want it as light as it is. So I'm gonna add a little bit more phthalo blue in mine, to be honest with you. I'm not digging the super, super light blue. So I just added another part phthalo blue in there. Okay. So now I have this color blue. I would just make sure it's not, so I'm gonna pull it up. Kind of like not necessarily a sky blue, kind of like a baby blue. And okay. We are going to, so kind of like what we did up here, we're gonna create some blue hair strands, but they're not gonna start at the top. They're gonna start kind of like right here, like in the middle, kind of start in the middle, and we don't want that many. So now I did like 1 there, and then maybe, oh geez, too much paint on my paintbrush. I'm gonna add 1 over here.
So I added, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna try to even it out. I'm not going all the way up. So I'm kind of going in that dark area. That's still, if you have any dark area left and you want to lighten it up a little bit, this would be the time to do that. You can like really like pull some of that dark color away by just adding more light blue in there. Now I'm feeling more comfortable about it. All right. He's coming together slowly but surely. Oh, no. If you accidentally get it in the middle, that's okay. He's got a long hair right there, right? I'm trying to figure out where else. I'm trying to break up some of my dark. I don't know if how you guys are doing with the darkness, but I don't want to add too much, right? So then I'm gonna come over here and maybe add some hair, some hair strands over here as well. On the ear. I'm trying to make it a little more chunky right there. And then, oh, I do want it to kind of go out a little bit. So I'm pushing it out so it's kind of hanging out. I'm gonna pull it up a little bit closer. There we go. And I'm gonna go on the other side and we are just gonna put some more blue paint in there. It's a pretty color. Okay. And again, just make sure you don't have too much paint on your paintbrush. We're pulling this blue all over his body. So we're gonna go around his face, his horns, and then on his body as well, right? So if you don't like the blue that you made, I would recommend maybe changing it up because we're gonna be adding this blue all over and you're gonna want it to be pretty consistent. So let's see. Trying to figure out how much blue I want around his. I'm gonna put a nice stroke right here by the nose. So it's not on the nose, it's right above it. And I feel like that. Oh no. Something just got on my paintbrush. So what I'm gonna do, I feel like I should have put that. There we go. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make it more up here. So I'm going around where my original highlights were. And then I'm running out of napkins. Okay, here we go. Then I'm gonna touch that back up. I didn't want that super light down there. And if you don't like how light certain areas are, just get some of that darker color and you can, but we do want to use this blue because this is a primary blue that's going to be kind of all over. I'm going to make
I'm thinking I'm gonna make one like long hair right here. Just, there we go. Okay, so we got some in there. Now we need some blue up in his horn, and I'm just gonna put it in between the light and so this is the light area. Again, I'm just gonna go over there and kind of put it right underneath that because this color is slightly different. I feel like it should be darker though. All right, so what I'm doing is now there's like that light color. Then I got some of that phthalo blue, and I'm gonna go in and thin it out because I don't want it to be that dark. I don't know. I'm not feeling this horn right now. Like, trying to figure out what to do. Maybe I'm overthinking it. All right. Okay, I like that better. Less light, and maybe you like more light on your horn, but I like less light on there. So I covered it with phthalo blue, and I'm super happy with it. So then we are going to start coloring in the body with that blue. So remember that blue was 3 parts white, 1 part blue. So I like my purple. I'm like a little nervous about this, but we can do this. So these are the hair strokes. Like we did up here, these are going to be very intentional strokes, and they're going to be very visible. So just try to be thoughtful kind of where they're going to go. So I like starting off kind of like, okay, well, here's the hair, right? So we're going to have it fall down. So I'm going to take the stroke and it's going to kind of curve like that. And then I'm going to have the hair kind of come off from here, from his chin, and kind of move down. And then kind of work my way from there. So where did I start? And then moving it, and I'm kind of curving it a little bit. We're kind of weaving around some of this, but I'm not going to fill the whole thing, but there is going to be a lot of this blue in here. So we're just going in. And making some wavy marks. In there. How's everybody doing? All right, so we do want to keep this darker, so we just keep going. You can kind of fill in. Oh, I think I got too much white on there. Just keep swimming. Just keep in and layering. It'll get there. It's getting there. He's getting almost done. And then I'm going to move over to this other side, and I'm just going to create some wavy marks. And sometimes it's easier to fill them in. So you make a couple very intentional like wavy strokes and then fill it in from there. You don't want all of them. So don't do what I just did where they all like end at the same point. You want some variances. So like
You see how this one is starting now up here, and then that one maybe kind of goes over. So change the size of the hair so it's not all coming from the same, you know, it's not the same length. Oop, I'm pushing on the camera. And sometimes it's hard to get all the way down, but you do want to pull it down past your canvas right here, right? We don't want to leave this part forgotten about. Bless you. Yeah, I feel like my guy needs like a strand over here. And just keep filling it in with strokes. But I mean, we're not making it solid. We do want some of those other colors coming through, but right here, you know, we're gonna have more blue. I'm trying to figure out how far in I want to go. Maybe a little bit more in. So I'm gonna. And if you notice, you know, maybe it looks like they're all going too much in the same direction, you can go in and just, you know, have a rogue hair kind of going in the wrong direction. And let's see, what else? Where do I want to? We got a lot of blue in there. How's everybody doing? Got some squiggly all over. He's fun. Try not to get mad at your painting. Try not to get mad at it. We are not done. There's a couple more layers of kind of help blend it in, but again, this is, you know, this is supposed to be more of an abstract cow, and it's supposed to be fun. So we are officially done with step 4. And so step 5, we're really going to be working on getting some more oranges and reds in there, which will really help. I know right now it feels like this is a weird pink and blue cow, but I think he's looking kind of cute. So what we are gonna do is, I'm trying to figure out which palettes. We got 2 parts orange with 1 part deep red. I'm still gonna use my number 8. I'm liking it with the squigglies. So let's see, 2 parts orange. Probably could just use this one. So we got 1, 2, and then, oh, I'm sorry, I did that backwards. It was 2 parts orange, 1 part red. Yikes. 1, 2. All right. And if you went ahead and did 2 parts red on accident like me, you can use that too. But this is supposed to be kind of like a reddish orange color. So here, we got this. The stuff, it's just a orangey red. And
we're gonna go in and we're gonna make him a little more red in some areas. So for example, like, you know, I really think his hair needs some more red in there. Let's see. So I'm gonna start off with the top, because remember, the red hues are really more on the top. Now we are gonna pull a couple down here, but we really want to focus up here. We are only doing a few strands though, so we're going in. I'm gonna go above the line again and just kind of pull it in and pull a nice strand down. And then I'm gonna go back over here. And let's see, I want to make a big, I went way over my line, and I did that on purpose because I was feeling like it was just too smooth, and he's got hair all over the place, right? It's just, it's a big matted mess, and that's what I love about this cow, is that he does not care. So I'm pulling in some reds. And again, that's the 2 parts orange and 1 part red. Mine is, or the deep red. So it actually looks pretty red. And I'm just going over kind of the area where the pink is. And then I'm gonna pull it down a little bit further, just a little bit into the blue, because I feel like there's a lot of blue going on in here. We need some more reds in here. So I'm pulling in some reds down. And I want a little bit over here, and maybe some over here. I'm just picking some random spots, put some red. I want it kind of all over, a little bit, just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to put some red over here in this dark spot. Maybe just a little right there. You're not really going to be able to see it too well, but the, you know, it'll kind of, the thought of it will be over there. And then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to, you know, maybe a random hair kind of just going out over there. Kind of trying to create some layers. So let's see. So, you know, instead of there just being a 1 mark, I created 2. If you look at the layer, it's kind of bumpy. And I want it to have, you know, different sizes in there. And then I'm going to keep moving it down. So we're going back over to blue. And just pulling it down. Let's see, let's go about down here. And just having fun, you know. He is starting to come together. There's more red in him. Ooh, and then I'm gonna put a little bit in. I'm just gonna have some fun and put some red down there, maybe a little bit, just a little bit. Because the colors are still in there, it's just that there's a shadow, right? So we can still have like a feel of some of those, but it doesn't have to be like there's a lot of it.
All right, I'm liking this color here. And now, once you are pretty happy with the amount, actually, yeah, there we go. Okay, I just add a little bit more red in there and, lots of fun bumps and stuff. And then I'm going to go in and add this orangey red to his head. So we're going to do the same thing where we're covering over some of the hair. Make sure your paintbrush is wet. I am running out of paint, so I need to make more. All right, there we go. All right, 2 parts. What was that again? It was 2 parts orange and 1 part deep red. Making sure I'm getting it right. And then I'm just going in here and I'm just creating some nice red spots. There we go. Try not to overthink it. We just need to get in, more of a reddish hue in there and have it just kind of come in different areas. Sometimes it's hard to let go, but I feel like the less I'm like trying to be so intentional about certain strokes, the more I am happy with how they are turning out. And I am gonna pull, so I'm pulling this, like right now there's like a gap, so I'm gonna pull in some of this red to the side. So now, it's not just like red and then no red. Yeah, put a little more red in there. Oh, I think he is turning out fun. Hopefully everybody else is enjoying their cow as well. I feel like he is so much fun right now. I will admit, I was gonna a tad frustrated with mine for a second, but it is coming together. So I do want to make sure that you have a couple of strokes, because I don't. So I just pointed out because I didn't do it, but I need some red strokes that kind of go a little bit further down, right, to closer to like his nose. So if you don't have them, just make sure you kind of go in there and then add some intentional strokes in there that go that far down. Make his hair a little bit longer. Right now I made it too short. And so I am just adding some red, going a little bit further, and I'm not going quite to the nose, but I'm going down further. And so at this point, you're probably not going to have a whole lot of blue up here, and that's okay. That's kind of what we want. The blue just changed some of the red colors that we're pulling down, the reds and the pinks. It kind of changed it, but it's still kind of seeping through some areas, right? Now I'm going to make a little squiggly over here with red. All right. Let me see. Trying to get a feel for where on his head do I need any more red. He's getting some long hair. I'm gonna flare it out a little bit. There we go. Okay. So now I just want to put a little bit of that reddish color, the reddish orange on, not very much, on his ears. And so I'm just gonna make a couple strokes. So I just did the very top, but I didn't do a lot. So it's not very much there. And then I'm gonna go over here. Well, I guess maybe I'll add a little bit more. Trying to decide how much. I like it. Yeah, I like it better with that red in there. Covering up that blue. I don't know how I was feeling about that light blue being in there. So now I'm gonna go back, and this is where it's okay. So I kind of already said this before, but it's okay if it goes over the blue. So you kind of want it to go over a little bit and look a little sloppy. So like here's the ear, and you know there's that dark blue, but I'm gonna start above it and then go down. And then I'm just gonna make like a couple marks. Like, you know, sometimes it's better to hold your paintbrush maybe from the end of it where you have like less control and let it kind of do its thing. So you see how it went over the line. We're always taught don't paint, you know, don't draw, don't color outside the line. Well, this is a painting where you are supposed to, and especially at this part of the painting is color outside of the line. All right, so I'm gonna make a little bit of a red marker there. Okay. I feel like his ear is not quite as wide on this side, so I'm trying to make up for it in the red. So then I'm just gonna add a tiny bit on the horn. Just make like, I don't know. I made 2 marks. I'm happy with that. They're there. You can't really notice them that much. And then I'm just gonna add like 1 right there. Maybe just a tiny bit. Okay, there we go. So I was just pulling in the colors together, but you know, the horns really don't have like a lot of red in them, so I wouldn't worry about doing a lot. So again, I added like 2 strokes in the horns. I mean, you can't even, maybe I should make that one bigger. There we go. They're pretty small. Yeah, I don't know if they're still awake. And thank you everybody for hanging on. If you do need to finish the painting later on, this will be available on YouTube for you to watch later. I do realize we are getting a little late in our time right now, so I appreciate you hanging in there, and then hopefully you will rejoin us tomorrow after you get some sleep as well. So now once you are done with the ears, the horn, and the body, we're gonna make some strokes in the nose. And so I'm going to kind of follow that mark that I was doing before, right? We went around. We're gonna do it again. We're going around.
And I do want it to go kind of in right there. And I want it to go in right there. Trying to figure out how much red do I want to put in there. I am kind of digging this red, so I'm going to go up there. All right, so I just basically covered the pink with some of that red lightly. There's a little bit of the pink showing through, not like a lot of it, but some of it. And then I'm going to put a little bit of red right there. One thing, actually, what I want to do, the center of my, I think I forgot to do this with that lighter color blue. I'm going to put a lighter blue in the middle of his nose. So I'm just picking up that blue that we made over there, which was 3 parts white, or 3 parts white and 1 part blue, but I am going to make this a little bit lighter because I think that's why I'm just not digging my nose. And I'm just creating like roughly creating like a square in the middle with the light blue. And now I am happier with my nose. Here we go. It is a little bit of a goofy nose, but let's see. I'm just coloring in a little bit more of that pink. I'm not feeling the pink so much, but all right. So we added a little bit of a lighter blue in the middle of the nose, if that's something you want to do. And then yeah. Oh, okay, there we go. Making his nostril a little bit smaller. So we added the red on top of the head and the ears, 2 little highlights in there. We colored in his nose, and then some nice red strokes throughout the body. And now we're going to add a little bit of like more of an orangey color. So it's going to be 4 parts white. 1, 2, 3. I'm sorry, 4 parts orange. Wow, it must be getting kind of late here too. 4 parts orange and 2 parts white. 1, 2. And the intention is to just kind of create like a lighter color orange. So let me mix it up and I will show you what my orange looks like. And I would play around if you really like orange. This is, I'm going to pull in more orange. So I'm putting in another part orange in mine. And I am much happier with that color. So this right here is the orange that I'm going with. You are welcome to make it more orangey. When you do add white, it will help it stand out on that red a little bit better than just putting a straight orange on there, because the white really just, I guess, adds
it helps it show up better. So this is more of a coral color. That's great. So now we're gonna do the same thing on top of the red that we did. So it's becoming less and less, right? So now we're at orange, and we're gonna go over the same areas, but we're gonna do less of them. So like, you know, I went here, but maybe I'm just gonna have a couple strokes of orange. And then I'm gonna add like a stroke of orange over here. But I'm not adding a lot of it. And then I'm going to add a little bit on the nose. We're going around the nose again, right? We're going doing that part, then we'll go around it. I'm just gonna keep it more so on the top. I guess I'll put a little bit down here. And I'm gonna go over. Oh, I just covered the whole red part. Well, I'm gonna add a little bit more of my red back in there. There we go. So then I added the orange in there. It's not turning out very orangey. Mine looks very coral, but. So I'm just going back up because right here I wasn't making it look weird. So I want some like movement in the whole thing, and where else? Okay, we'll go up over here by the ears. And I'm not doing a lot. I didn't cover the whole red. I'm just covering part of it. So again, I'm going to go over here and maybe just a couple of spots. Oh, close. I didn't do a lot. So like, here's all of the red, and this is the orange part. So it's right there, right there. Just a couple strokes. And so then I'm gonna do the same thing for the top of the head. We don't need a lot in here. These can be like little strokes. They're just to add some dimension in there. And just taking a couple of spots. So we're doing less than we did of the red. Lots of layers in this painting. Oh boy, and then I added a bunch right there. And sometimes, so like when we're doing the orange, don't just have it start from the top, but also have a couple like random ones down here that maybe you start from the bottom, then you move kind of up. So then we have like kind of some chunking going on. Trying to create some more layers in mine. And so they could be some shorter pieces in there. You could have some longer pieces. I kind of like that pop of that orange right there. It's just like pops. So if you want to, what I did is I just put a big glob of paint. I put a lot on the tip, and then when I put it down, it just like really popped. And I'm making more like shorter streaks up in the top. That's like creating a lot of fun movement. Let's see, we did that. Oh, I'm gonna make sure I have a little bit more on the top. There we go. Oh, this is coming together. I'm just gonna put a tiny bit on these horns, like so small. Ooh. There we go. Just a tiny, tiny bit. So you're gonna wanna use the tip of your brush when you do that. If you get a bunch on there, that's okay. He is turning out super cool. All right, how are we doing? For those of you who are still awake with me, doing good? Awesome, awesome. I'm just gonna add a couple random orange ones down here, actually, because I'm having fun with this orange. Okay. So then after we get that in, we are going to, I'm sorry, I still feel like this nose is goofy. There we go. I don't know why that orange, I made the orange kind of, made a like very bright orange line, and I like it better that way. And then there we go. He's turning it. There we go. Making sure it's a little bit lighter on the top. Okay. Now I will stop playing around with the orange, and we are going to move on to some, believe it or not, yep, we're adding another color on his fur, and that is going to be 2 parts deep yellow and 1 part white. So remember, again, really it's just going to be like a yellow color, but that little bit of white, well, actually, I take that back. It is 2 parts deep yellow, 4 parts white, but that's originally the color I used. Right now I like the color with 2 parts yellow and 2 parts white. So I'm for this one, I'm going to stick with that. So what I got is this light yellow, and that white is going to help it stand out on top of all these colors, because we keep adding all these colors, right? If you wanted to also, while you're doing this, you could always put in a wiggle of color in the background while you're doing this as well. Like if you wanted this yellow in the background, you could kind of make some brush strokes back there too. So the yellow is we're gonna have even less of the yellow. Well, we'll probably have about the same amount of yellow as we do orange. So we'll start over here and just kind of create some brush strokes. Trying to figure out where. So again, we're kind of keeping it on the edge of this guy. And we still want to keep it kind of wavy if possible. I know we don't always have control of where our paintbrush is going to go and what it's doing. So just going in there. Let's see. I am not digging how this is looking. All right, there we go. I think you need some more yellow over here to match the other side. And make sure some of it goes up on the top. There we go. All right, we got some yellow over here. And then yellow on his fur. And then we're gonna put some yellow. So I'm gonna put it closer to the blue. So I'm just gonna show you, I'm gonna put a yellow mark right. Oh, that didn't show up very well. Right there. So it's on the top of the blue part on his nose. And then it's gonna go right on the bottom of his nose too. So just make a line that goes like, whoop. That was thicker than I wanted though, but. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of that coral. Okay. I made my line a little bit thick. So what I did is I took that orangey color and I just covered it up where it went too far. So I just want the yellow on the bottom of the nose. So right here. And then right here. And then I'm also gonna kind of define the nostril a little bit better. So I'm going to kind of create that swirl around and up. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to create that swirl. Oh boy. Okay. So I didn't close it, but I did go around it with the yellow. Around it. There we go. I think it's starting to look more like a nose. All right. All right. The next part we should paint yellow would be the hair. So we're gonna start up here and like the same thing that we were doing with the orange and the red is that we're just gonna keep making some different colors and strokes. And make sure you, ooh, that was a really big stroke. I'm gonna break it up a little bit. There we go. So I don't know if you just saw that. I just turned a huge stroke into a couple of different ones. And how I did that is I wiped off my brush and then just pushed the paint out in a different direction. So if you find that, you know, you did too much in one area, you can still fix it. It's not the end of the world. All right, and so I'm just painting some different strokes all over, and make sure you also get some from the bottom like we did with that orange. Is, you know, it's good to do it on the top, but then also on the bottom. And I'm just making sure I'm going all the way up to the top. And how's everybody doing with their hair? Are you okay? All right. So I do want to point out that, you know, I am going up to the top. So there's a little bit of red showing, but I'm going pretty far up to the top to cover it up. And then now that I've gotten the top part, sorry, moving the camera, I am going to come down at the bottom too, right? So just like I did with the orange, I want some strokes down here coming upward. And I'm just gonna keep and make sure you're doing squigglies all over. And we want them going in different directions. You don't want it all the same pattern. You want the hair kind of traveling in a little bit of a different direction. It gives it some variation. And you can vary it up by doing like little strokes and then do some longer strokes and getting like different sizes in there and different widths. So, you know, like you might have some thicker ones and some skinnier ones. I'm just gonna make a couple big, so I'm using the flat side of my brush. I'm pushing down to make some big chunks of yellow. Do I like that? I think I'm gonna do the same thing over here. So I went in, instead of using it this way, I used the flat side and did a big, just pulled it down, did a big chunk. It was very chunky at that part. And then we are gonna do just a little bit over here on the ear, right? Gotta carry it over. And then do the same thing over here. Awesome. I hope your guys is turning out just as awesome. And I'm going to make a couple fun yellow marks in his ear, or I'm sorry, in the horn, right? So I'm going to do like 2, just like I did with the other one. I didn't really necessarily pick, I didn't really pick an area for any reason. I just kind of found a spot that looked good. These are this is one of those paintings where, you know, a lot of times it ends up looking a lot better if you let go of perfection and just let things be the way they are.
And that's the one thing I really love about painting is learning to let go of the things that you can't control and just working with what you got. And, you know, your next chapter, your next step in your life, things will work out. It'll come together. We don't realize, sometimes we don't see how it's all going to come together in the end, but it does. You know, remember all that blue that maybe you had been worrying about before. We can barely see any of the blue, but it did add a lot to it. So I am pretty happy with the yellow in my cow so far. Well, you know what? I'm going to add just a stroke right there. I don't know why. And then maybe one down here. I'm having fun with the yellow right now. So I think he looks super awesome right now. And let's see, what we are on the last step. So thank you everyone for staying up so late with me. I really appreciate you guys keeping me company. Clean up my brush. All right. Let's see. Step 7 is that we need to use, that's when we're going to get out our small brush. So the little round brush, I got a number 2 round brush. It has a tip at the end. You can use any fine brush that you have. This is the one that I prefer using. And so we are using the number 2 round, and this is where I'm going to finally use that hot pink. So if you were worried about not having hot pink, you can see how you're painting. Oh my gosh, Marsha, that looks amazing. Wow. Wow. I am super impressed. I think yours might be turning out better than mine. I don't know. So let's see, what colors are we gonna do? We're gonna do 3 parts neon pink or whatever bright pink you have. And we're gonna do, let's see, 2 parts. I need somewhere to put this paint. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 3 parts pink, hot pink. And then 2 parts yellow. 1, 2. And then we're going to use 1 part white. 1 part. We're going to mix it up. I mean, if you want to put the hot pink on there, you can go ahead. We are muting our hot pink a little bit. It is kind of like a salmon color. So if you have salmon color too, that might work. Oh, and I am trying to get all the extra paint off of my paintbrush. And we are going to use this color to just do, let's see, let me look at this. I know. Okay. I don't know if you guys can hear about the craziness going on over here. My kids obviously didn't get the memo. It was bedtime. So let's paint a little bit on the nose. I think yeah, we're gonna do maybe some marks around the nose, you know, add in some other colors other than the blue in there. And you know, let's do that. We'll start with that. So let's see. Here's his nose. I have so much paint on there. Okay. And he's he had some wrinkles over here, right? Kind of just on the corner of it. I don't know if you can see right there. And then he had some wrinkles maybe over on this side. I'm kind of out of space, so I can only fit 2 in there, maybe. Maybe I could go a little bit closer.
So I'm just making a couple of strokes. You can do like little ones, just around his nose. And then I'm gonna give him maybe like, oh boy, I don't want that much. A little nutso. Okay, I just want to put like a little couple marks down here, almost like his hair, right? I'm adding a lot of pink in there. So yeah, a couple marks over by his chinny chin chin. And I'm just gonna add some highlights in like his nose area, I think. I feel like it needs a little more. So I'm just gonna maybe add another layer right there. I'm just making it, so I put it right here, right above the yellow on the top of the nostril. And then put it down here. Feel pretty good about that. And where else should we add some? Maybe we'll put a couple in his hair. Just put a couple random hot pink streaks in there. And then you can put maybe 1 or 2 on the top of his ear if you want. Then you can just I guess I'll put just a little bit on the top of his head. There we go. And oh, since we put it there, we should put a couple down here, right? So we'll put a couple of streaks down by the body. So only this few, and you can't really see them too much. And let's see. Okay. So I'm gonna rinse off my paintbrush. Is everybody caught up? We have the last final touch, which is to add a little bit of white in here. So I'm rinsing off my brush, super good. And what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of white to this yellow. Now my yellow is wet, but that's okay. I'm okay with that. I'm going to add a little bit of white on the top of it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of white over here. Oh, that was a lot of white. So I'm using the number 2. And I am going on top of the yellow. So what it's doing is it's making it look a little bit brighter in certain areas, but I'm not covering all of the yellow. So I'm gonna do it up close. And if you can see, the white is only right there. I didn't go all the way, but I'm just going on the top and maybe a little bit down below. There we go. And then I'm gonna go a little bit down here. All right. And I am gonna give him just a little bit of highlights on the top of his horns, right? So where that light blue streak was, I totally feel comfortable now that we got so many colors in this horn now. So I just put a little bit of white in there. Just right there. That's the only part I got white. I'll do it up closer so you can see. Okay. And then I'm gonna do the same thing over here where, you know, we're just gonna there we go. So there's my white, and there's my white, 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 white. And what the background has a couple dots in it. So what you can do is you can use the back of your brush and you can dab it into your white paint. And then we're going to create a couple dots. So we're going to be like 1. So I'm kind of making them in a row. And I'm going to show you in just a second. So we're just creating like a couple spotted areas where it's just like kind of almost like a little bit of a pattern, but it didn't show up all the way, right? Because that's all I'm going to do in that corner. And then I'm going to do some over in this corner. And you can pick whatever area you think needs it, right? This is just supposed to add a little more dimension in the background because it is pretty plain right now. So here I just did like a couple circles. So they are in a row and not all of the rows have the same number or the same columns have the same number of dots. You can choose how many you want in each one. Let's see. So I originally put them right there, right there. I think I got some over here too. And it's okay if your columns are not straight. Mine are not today. So I just created some more over there. And you can put them wherever you think needs it. I'm gonna put a couple over here. And then I'm just gonna put some rogue dots in different spots. There we go. Oh my gosh. And that is it. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming and staying with me. I really appreciate it. And I had so much fun painting with you guys. I can't wait to see your finished painting. So if you aren't done, don't worry about it. You can always watch this recording later and on YouTube. I will post a link up on Facebook for everybody. Otherwise, I will share my painting on the Facebook event. So when you get a chance, just post up your picture as well. I can't wait to see how everybody's painting turned out. And I hope you guys had just as much fun as I did. Thank you so much for staying up late with me. You guys have a great night. Bye.